I was sitting in the tea room yesterday, and a grand political person just came up to me and said, "You're brave," which you never want to hear. And I said, "Oh, why?" He said, "Well, I hear you're going to coming up to Notts." It was a Nottinghamshire person coming up to Notts tomorrow, and I had been thinking about coming up here today, and I thought, well, that's, it's probably putting it a bit strongly, but yeah, I sort of know what he means. You wouldn't going to talk to the ALP about their train to gain contracts at the moment. It's not brave would be putting it a bit strongly, but I know what he means. And then we had a very cross-purposes conversation, and I realised actually he had no idea I was coming here, and he was talking about going to West Notts College, where they're exercised about their new building, which doesn't necessarily exist. Although, obviously, I mean, there's. I wasn't trying to announce anything then. I was just saying it doesn't exist yet. Anyway, having said all of which, I'm genuinely glad to be here. I genuinely value this sector, this group of people represented here today. I think that the provider, as opposed to the college sector, really is I think it's part of the future. I think it's something. It's an area where we need to do more, go further. It can be a real driver of progress and change in the way that we want the whole FE sector to develop. I think the diversity of people here, links with employers and communities, private sector, third sector partners. I genuinely think now more than ever that the country needs you and what you do to help it cope with the difficulties and the challenges and the opportunities. And I know what you do, and I know how well you do it and how dynamically you do it. Most learning providers delivering train to gain up to level 2 have been independent providers. 64% of apprenticeship completions are through work-based learning providers. Just over 260,000 young people have gone through E2E since 2003. And we really do, honestly, I really do value that work, and I really do see it as the beginning of more growth and more progress. And we value your contribution, the ALP specifically, into developing the policies that provide the framework. The recent prospectus inviting bids for GTAs and ATAs drew heavily on the experience of the ALP and ALP members, and I would encourage anybody who hasn't done, who could do, to look at and input into the consultation on the it's a phrase I hate to use, but the specification for Apprenticeship Standards England, which is a problem with it. We're not supposed to use acronyms, but you either call it the SACE and then are exclusive and acronymic, or you call it the specification for Apprenticeship Standards England and are unintelligible and ugly. But anyway, it's an important document, and your knowledge and expertise in getting this overarching, I always want to use the phrase overarching framework, because obviously you can't call it an overarching framework because it would confuse people with a framework. Anyway, we need your help on that. We need your help as the development of the SFA and the detailed design of that takes shape over the next few months. And we genuinely look forward to some input. Now, on budgets, I mean, there is a limit to how much I can say. There's a limit to how helpful I can be, although I would like to. Although, I mean, I'm happy to come on and talk about it in a minute. The bottom line is that everybody knows there's been a big surge in demand for training, for train to gain in particular, 25 plus apprenticeships, which is great. It's what we want, but it puts the budgets under pressure. And as you all know, no budget is unlimited. There was when we took the caps off the budgets for providers. Obviously, we didn't take the cap off the budget as a whole. The budget, the Chancellor's budget, who was on the same train as me this morning. Actually, I came out of the train station and there was like, I'm expecting a car, but there's like a big Range Rover and a Jag and loads of people all over the place. And I'm thinking, you know, this is a bit over the top for the ALP at East Notts Conference Centre. I know there's a little, like it wasn't exactly a Ford Escort, but there's a little guy in the corner waving at me. And then I saw the white head of the Chancellor appear, and it all made sense. But I mean, the budget was in tough times was a good budget for DIUS. We've got more money over all the key budgets next year, over this year. More money for skills, for science, for innovation. But we haven't got infinite money. Train to Gain rose last year, it'll rise next year. But as you know, the LSE have put the caps back on. As I know, people have had indicative allocations which are worrying for some of them, and but it should be clear that they are indicative, and that process is being finalised now and will be over the next few days. And I think partly we just need to wait for that before getting. We need to wait. And I should say I won't talk for very much longer because people want to, as Graham said, either ask questions or make points. That there is, there's a lot of good stuff still going on. All of this stuff is still going on. There's the 120 million of new money for pre-employment training for young people, which contract delivery is being looked at now and will be done on the basis of the best providers who are best able to do the job. There's 7 million of apprenticeship funding for GTAs and ATAs, 10 new apprenticeship training agencies. There's a lot of scope to do new things, as well as to continue doing the things that you've been doing so extraordinarily successfully over the last few years. So I'm genuinely glad to be here. I'm keen to hear what you've got to say. I haven't got answers to all the questions, but I'll do my best to indicate the direction of travel when I can. And the reason that I'm genuinely glad to be here is that I'm always conscious on these occasions that as a minister in general, and particularly a relatively new minister, you only ever get a fairly glossy overview of anything, however much you attempt to drill down. And the people that I'm talking to on these occasions are always vastly more expert and knowledgeable about what is kind of their business and the daily nitty-gritty of their lives in a way that it's not of mine. So I'm genuinely glad to be here because I genuinely want to hear what you say and to know what you think and to try and learn as best I can. So thanks for having me, and tell me what you think.